like a sort of a panel. So if there's any questions as I go through the presentation, please chime in, ask the question. It's usually easier, then we can address it as it comes up. And yeah, so raise a hand, give a shout, do as you feel. This is for your benefit. Okay, so we've done the introduction. You know who I am. You know where Earth slots into the grander scheme of things. So we can jump right in. So just a quick outline of what we'll be looking at today. So we'll be looking at market needs, key trends, and common skin concerns that have been identified by online research platforms like Mintel and the like. We'll do a quick tour through skin physiology just so that it's fresh in your mind, because certain ingredients target certain components in the skin, and then we'll go through the entire range product by product. For some other reason that button's not working. Okay, market needs. So these are the 4 key market needs identified for skincare consumers. They want convenience, so a range that is easy to understand. They know which product suits them and are easy to use, so they get multiple benefits from a single product. Then safety concerns with products, and consumers often equate this to natural products. So they find that natural products are safer than conventional skincare, which brings me to the third point, which is efficacious products. They often find that natural products aren't as efficacious as conventional skincare. And that might have been so at the advent of the natural skincare trend 12, 14, 15 years ago. But in the meantime, ingredient suppliers have really caught up, and they've been able to deliver highly efficacious active ingredients that have similar, if not better, results than, for instance, your benchmark peptides, Matrixyl and the like, that was developed in the late 90s. And then lastly is cost effectiveness. So they really want quality from the money they spent. South Africa being the second most cost sensitive market in the world, which is interesting because we're not the second worst economy, but the South African consumer really spends their money cautiously. Okay, then key trends in skincare, niacinamide being number 1, and I think it's been at the top, I don't know, for 5-6 years at least. So consumers know the ingredient, otherwise known as vitamin B3, so they still put a lot of stock in niacinamide. It's relatively well tolerated and safe for all skin types, so niacinamide here to stay. Then algae and algae-derived active ingredients and products, and I think this is driven by trend number 6, which is biotechnological innovations that's really opened up our ability to exploit the benefits of algae. Diversity, the population is growing more and more diverse in its identity, and I think this also speaks to another trend, which is personalization in skincare. So consumers want to know that the skincare range or the skincare products will work for their unique and specific needs. Male grooming has also been a trend for probably 5-6 years now, here to stay, and you'll see as we work through the Earth range, it's really designed as a range that can cater to most skin types. That's why the serums are there, and males will also benefit from using this product. It's not a female branded, a female directed, or a female designed range. It can really cater to both male and female. The natural ingredients, as we saw in market trends, natural ingredients are here to stay. There's another driver here will be sustainability. So our suppliers are putting a lot of stock in having documentation and ensuring that they source their raw materials from sustainable practices. And then last, biotech innovations, but we'll speak on this a little bit more in a later slide. So most common skin concerns, there are 13. And if you can address these, you will address skin concerns that most consumers have. The list is there on the right: dark circles, dark spots, eye bags, dry skin, oily skin, facial redness, dull skin, rough texture, large pores, under eye wrinkles, hormonal acne, blackheads, and forehead wrinkles. So important here also, post-COVID, we saw quite a shift in consumers moving from anti-aging and pigmentation being the major concerns that people wanted to address in developing new skincare ranges, to sensitive skin, which you can group together with dry skin, as well as hormonal acne, which makes sense because all of these conditions are driven by intrinsic inflammation, and we know long COVID is intrinsic long-term inflammation. So you'll see a lot of requests for that as well. Okay, then skin physiology and aging. And when we talk about aging here, we mean it in more of a holistic sense. It's not specifically just your cosmetic aging and concerns. It's more what happens in your body over time. So aging is driven by various factors. This includes pollution, UV radiation, the normal chronological aging, and this has an effect on the skin physiology and how the skin functions. So the skin is divided into various layers. The epidermis at the top, which includes the stratum corneum, which is the dead, dry skin cells ready to be shed. They start off as keratinocytes here in the basal layer, and then they go through various phases of differentiation until they shed from the stratum corneum as a dehydrated, dry skin cell. Then below the epidermis, we have the dermis. And this is an important layer because this is where your structural fibers of the skin lives. So you'll find elastin, collagen, and hyaluronic acid here. And this layer is really responsible for your skin elasticity, your skin firmness, wrinkles. And as we age, the fibroblasts that are responsible for creating these structural fibers decrease and die. Structural fibers degrade, they become less. And another important factor here at the dermal epidermal junction, it's this undulating surface here, that changes and the skin becomes thinner, and you see less of this undulating pattern. And that means the skin adherence is less, leading to thinning skin and just a overall reduction in the skin firmness and plumpness. And what's important to remember, various factors in aging contributes to cell senescence. Cell senescence, that's the fancy word for cell death. So as we age and cells lose their vitality and become less operational, eventually they enter a stage of cell senescence. And this is bad because during cell senescence, various factors are being what's the word? I can just remember the Afrikaans now. Sorry, I'm having a short circuit here. But they secrete, that's the word, they secrete these cell senescence factors. And what happens when they secrete that is all the surrounding cells sense it, and that leads to further cell senescence or cell death. So it's really a loop, and these factors also contribute to chronic inflammation. So it increases, all the cells around it gets affected. So it's really important in terms of wellness to address these inflammatory factors and help reduce them in order to be able to reverse cell senescence. Another thing that happens during cell senescence is telomere degradation. And we'll talk about telomeres in a later slide. That's why I just wanted to give you a little bit of background. So you've got your animal cell here, and then in the middle you've got a nucleus. The nucleus contains all your chromosomes. And a chromosome, depicted here as an X, which means the cell is ready for division, is capped by these things called telomeres. Now, telomeres basically function like that plastic bit on the end of a shoelace. So it protects the chromosome from fraying, because the chromosome carries all our genetic information, all the genes that are expressed in order to create and make proteins in the cells. So when the genes get damaged, the proteins that are being made are mutated in some sense, and you see loss of function. So telomeres are there to stop our chromosome from fraying and stop damage happening to important genetic information. With every cell division, as we age and our cells divide on a constant basis, telomeres get damaged and are shortened. to the point where they are almost completely lost, and then the cell enters a stage of cell senescence. And this is done to protect our body because it can lead to things like cancer, liver psoriasis, and all these type of things are caused by telomere shortening, and then at the end of the day, loss of function, loss of cell vitality, and cell death. Okay, so the Earth range was developed with certain key factors in mind. We wanted it to be avant-garde, meaning we wanted to include all these lovely new active ingredients that are brought to us by biotechnological advances. We wanted it to be simplistic, meaning that you have the core basic products that you use, and you add the serums to that to address your own unique specific skin concerns. Obviously, it needed to be natural, to speak to the natural trend, to be adaptable, to speak to the diversity of our consumers, and it also offers biotic support, meaning it supports the natural, healthy, normal biome on the skin, because we know if our skin biome is intact and healthy, it can also help suppress other pathogenic bacteria, which can lead to conditions like acne and atopic dermatitis. Okay, so why, as Willa Krause brand, did they develop, or did we choose to develop the Earth skincare range? We wanted to deliver efficacious natural products. We wanted for that specific range to target a younger generation, because the consumer in the Willa Krause skincare range is aging. We also wanted to promote sustainable practices and make sure that we can offer products that are in recyclable packaging and that use ingredients that come from a sustainable background. And for that brand specifically, we wanted to have access to a new market segment, which with you guys onboarding, we've done that part. So thank you for that. Okay, so ingredient science. When we look at ingredient science, our active ingredients comes from various sectors. The first being plants, and this is significant because plants have such a wide array of phytochemical ingredients. Because they are stationary, they can't just pick up their skirt and walk away. Plants have developed a very interesting immune system during the course of its evolution, which led to chemicals that we can now exploit for the benefits. So plants have to adapt to very extreme conditions. And as such, if we look at the proteins, the peptides, or the factors that they are secreting, we can translate these benefits into skincare. Another segment will be the microorganisms. Also, they are also tasked with quite an uphill battle because they're single cellular organisms. Their defenses have to come from the inside. So they can also adapt to very extreme conditions where they have to fight dehydration or severe pH fluctuations, very acidic or very basic pH conditions. So when looking at the mechanisms of why plants and microorganisms survive in the environments they survive, we can exploit these benefits and translate into skincare. And all of this is driven by advancements in biotechnology. So biotechnology offers us the technology to look at the genes, to look at the phytochemical composition that leads to these benefits, and then to reproduce it in a sustainable manner. So the suppliers that we get our ingredients from have very interesting sustainable practices, from vertical farming to bioreactors, which means ingredients aren't sourced from a field like they were in the past. They can now grow these in things like bioreactors, which means the footprint is much smaller, the conditions are controlled, so you also get reputable results from your ingredients. Next up is, I think I skipped the slide. No. Okay, so we'll dive right into the Rooibos and Aloe cleanser. I just want to switch my view here. There we go. So the Rooibos and Aloe cleanser, and I can already hear people going, not another Rooibos and Aloe product. And I think I've actually shared this quip with Curtis and Nicola, so sorry for repeating myself. But this cleanser was designed, first of all, with a few things in mind. It needed to be pH balancing so that there's no need for a toner post cleansing your face. That's where toners initially came in. They had to reset the pH after using high pH traditional soaps like a soap bar. It's sulfate free, it's gentle and soothing, and it's non-drying. So aloe vera is a very well-known ingredient. It's been used since ancient times, and it's such a fantastic ingredient because it's rich in vitamins, amino acids, and minerals. It can relieve the symptoms of irritated and sensitive skin, and it helps to smooth and soften the skin. So a lot of studies have been done on aloe vera, so all of these claims are substantiated in the literature. They've also shown that it improves skin hydration for between 1 and 2 consecutive weeks of use. It can also improve skin repair. We know it as an anti-inflammatory ingredient, and it helps reduce the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles because it improves hydration. They've also found that allicin, it's one of the active ingredients in aloe, can reduce skin pigmentation quite effectively. Then rooibos, also one of the truly South African ingredients. It contains the flavone called iriodictyl. I cannot ever say that word. Just give me a second. Iriodictyl and the antioxidant ferulic acid, and they both have exceptional therapeutic roles. This includes neuroprotection, so they can actually protect the DNA from further damage because they are such strong antioxidants. They're both analgesic and have anti-inflammatory effects, anti-tumor activity, and much more, which speaks to skin cancer. That's, of course, not a claim we can make, but anything that reduces the inflammation will have that benefit. And both these ingredients are also strong depigmentating agents. Then another ingredient in there is green tea extract. It's one of the strongest antioxidants known in nature. It's rich in polyphenols that are responsible for the antioxidant activity. It can prevent inflammation exaggeration. And as we saw on the slide where we looked at skin physiology, inflammation is the main driver of aging. They call it inflammaging. So anything that stops inflammation really speaks to anti-aging benefit. So green tea can stop the exaggeration of inflammation, meaning it can prevent that inflammation cascade becoming chronic. And green tea also shown in a study to balance sebum production in an adaptogenic way. So it doesn't just reduce or upregulate or downregulate. If you've got oily skin, it can downregulate. If you've got dry skin, it can upregulate. So it really balances sebum production in the skin. The Earth Cleanser, suitable for all skin types. It can be used morning and night, actually any time of day. That's why I've got this little 24-hour sign there. People can use it in the afternoon as well. You get strange questions from consumers sometimes. Okay, next up is our moisturizer. So it's the Kalahari Melon and Microalgae Moisturizer. And there on the left, you see the list of ingredients. So the moisturizer is designed
I think I've lost Eileen. Is anybody else?
Oops.
Sorry, Eileen, we lost you for a minute there.
Yeah. There we go. Are we back? Are we back?
Yes. I can hear you.
Okay. Can you see the slide? Because it's now black on my side. Okay, awesome. So the moisturizer is designed to be so that both oily and dry skin types can use it. As such, it is slightly drier than a dry skin will use, but you will see there's a serum that they can add to augment if they need more moisturization. That being said, when I'm saying moisturization, I'm actually talking oily after feel, because as you'll see, the active ingredients all contribute significantly to the moisturization. So the first ingredient I want to talk about is, it's called moisturizer. That's the trade name. And it's called such because they isolated it from the Rio Tinto river in Spain, known as Mars on Earth. And it comes from a microalgae that is able to survive in these extreme conditions. The research behind this ingredient is phenomenal. And these are all results that you can claim based on the research the company done. So it decreases transepidermal water loss quite effectively, and it also strengthens the skin's barrier function. So there, if you look at the top layers of the skin, as we discussed previously, in the stratum corneum and the epidermis below that, if the cell adhesion is sufficient and strong, you improve barrier function. That prevents unwanted substances from entering the skin, and it prevents unnecessary water loss from the skin, which can in turn reduce things like irritation and skin infection. So a strong barrier is the first step in any product to improve skin appearance. What it also does is it upregulates lipid production in the cornified layer of the skin. So that top stratum corneum, more lipids are produced, and that gives you that water impenetrable barrier to reduce transepidermal water loss. Another ingredient I want to highlight here is the ceramides. So ceramides are a very well-known skincare ingredient. It's been around since the late 80s, and it's the main component of the natural moisturizing factor in the stratum corneum. So ceramides, together with cholesterol and saturated fatty acids, also helps enforce this water impenetrable layer that reduces water loss. Other ingredients in here is panthenol, which is vitamin B5, which promotes the growth of skin cells, improves moisturization and elasticity, and is an ingredient known to calm irritation associated with conditions such as eczema. Niacinamide, or vitamin B3, also responsible for promoting protein synthesis, improving the skin metabolism and texture. We'll talk a lot about skin metabolism in later slides. It also possesses antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties. There's also vitamin E in here, probably one of the best known skincare ingredients, been around for over 50 years. It also helps reduce inflammation because it's such a strong antioxidant, especially in environmentally damaged skin. Vitamin E is very effective. It can be used before and after sun exposure to reduce the free radical damage in the skin, and therefore should be present in every day and night cream. And it also softens. It doesn't remove scars. I think there's a misconception there that vitamin E removes scars, but it doesn't. It softens the collagen in the skin, making it more susceptible to treatment to help alleviate scars. So this speaks to acne scarring or any type of scarring you've got on the skin. And then, of course, it also reduces oxidation of sebum in the skin, which is important because oxidized sebum can lead to acne conditions. Hyaluronic acid, another very well-known ingredient. Hyaluronic acid forms part of the dermal layer where your structural fibers reside. It's one of the polymers in nature that binds the highest amount of water, and as such can lead to a plump and firm looking skin. Also reduces flaking, and depending on the size of hyaluronic acid you use, we've used a fragmented size here so that it can penetrate in the upper layers of the skin. If you use the conventional large molecule, it will just form a layer on top. It cannot actually penetrate, but even in forming the layer on top of the skin, it has a function of reducing transepidermal water loss. Okay, that is the moisturizer. Next up is the vitamin C serum. So we call it vitamin C and B3 glow serum. So vitamin B3, of course, is niacinamide. And it contains two types of vitamin C, ascorbic acid and sodium ascorbyl phosphate. The serum is anhydrous, which is actually key. And if anyone offers you a vitamin C serum where water is one of the ingredients, they can keep it. And a lot of the competitors on the market selling for 3,000 plus rand they will have ascorbic acid in water. And the issue with this is ascorbic acid is extremely unstable. You have up to 90% ascorbic acid degradation in water within the first 10 minutes, meaning by the time the product leaves the factory, you have no benefits left. So what we did is we created an anhydrous formulation, so there's no water present in our formulation, and this is to protect the sensitive ascorbic acid. So really, consumers will often ask about the percentage of ascorbic acid or vitamin C, because I think the perception out there is that percentage drives effectiveness, which isn't untrue if you can deliver that percentage in a fully functional format. But the moment it degrades, you lose all activity. So in total, we have 7% of vitamin C in this serum, which when stabilized is more than enough to get the beneficial results of vitamin C. So the main idea is that vitamin C is the strong antioxidant that scavenges free radicals. In preventing free radical damage to cells, you prevent inflammation, and inflammation leads to premature skin aging, in other words, wrinkles. It also leads to pigmentation. That is why vitamin C is such a strong depigmentating active, because it prevents inflammation. Vitamin C can also support vitamin E present in the skin and boost the function of vitamin E in a synergistic manner. Like we said, antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, and it can promote the regeneration of vitamin E in the skin. Then vitamin B3, we've touched on quickly in the previous slide, so I won't go into too much detail here, but it mainly helps the skin appear more youthful. And with regards to the glow serum, which is really targeted at inflammation and pigmentation, niacinamide can inhibit melanogenesis without melanocytotoxicity, meaning it inhibits the process of forming melanin instead of, like certain lightening or depigmentation actives, that actually destroy the melanocytes. So the melanocytes are important because melanin protects DNA from sun damage. So we don't want to be completely without melanin, because then our DNA gets damaged. So this downregulates melanonin production without damaging our melanocytes. And a study found that there was up to 35 to 68% reduction in melanin transfer within 4 weeks with niacinamide used at the level that we are using in this product. And then just a quick differentiation between ascorbic acid and sodium ascorbyl phosphate. So ascorbic acid, very water soluble, very well known, but very unstable. Sodium ascorbyl phosphate is a much stabler form of vitamin C. So we included both because ascorbic acid has a higher level of activity and sodium ascorbyl phosphate has a longer range of activity. So it can stay active on the skin much longer because it's more stable. So it's almost like a slow release of vitamin C on the skin. Okay, next up is the Zeminia. And oh, sorry, before I forgot to tell you, you can use the vitamin C day and night. If you use it at day, because it leads to a little bit of cell proliferation and exfoliation, it is recommended to use it with a sunscreen. It will also boost the activity of a sunscreen. Okay, so the next serum is the Zeminia and Turmeric Detox Serum. And this is one of my favorites that everyone can use. And you see, I've got the 24-hour use here. You can put it on 8 times a day if you want. You can put it on the whole time because it's just fantastic, and we should actually be drinking this if it was possible. So it consists of 3 ingredients that basically work in synergistically with each other. That's heptapeptide 6, which is a peptide derived from turmeric. So it's a turmeric biomimetic peptide. It looks exactly the same as in turmeric, and we associate turmeric with its antioxidant and anti-inflammatory ability. There's a rosemary and bilberry extract in there, and then a micrococcus lysate. And the idea of these 3 ingredients, well, actually 4, but the rosemary and bilberry forms part of 1 ingredient. So the idea of these 3 ingredients is that they tackle the 3 different types of stress. So the turmeric peptide tackles environmental stress, and it downregulates the inflammatory pathway, reducing inflammaging, and it prevents an inflammatory loop from forming that leads to DNA damage. As we saw earlier, it can end up in cell senescence, so we really don't want inflammation to become chronic. So results with the peptide showed increased skin smoothness and resilience to temperature. And this is important for people who suffer from sensitive skin or eczema-prone skin types. They are often more sensitized by temperature changes. The peptide can also reduce skin roughness and pore size, and then very importantly, skin redness, especially in response to temperature changes. And then some of the stats that was given by the supplier includes up to 10% less or pore size reduction within 7 days, 23% less skin flaking in 28 days, so that speaks to the moisturization, improved skin smoothness up to 7% within 30 minutes, so you see quite a quick and immediate effect, and then 18% less skin roughness in 28 days. Next up is the rosemary and bilberry extract, and they speak to the second type of stress, which is physical stress. And they do this by targeting cellular exhaustion. So as our cells age and become exhausted either by stress factors or by age, our mitochondria do not function as they should. And as we know, the mitochondria are responsible for producing the cell's energy. They're really like the power plants of the cell, which all in turn can lead to telomere shortening. So these three ingredients all speak to stopping the inflammation and preventing our telomeres from shortening, so that you've got this holistic addressing of skin aging. So the bilberry extract recharges the mitochondrial membrane, and this is important because the mitochondria uses its membrane and protons moving across the membrane to create ATP, which is cellular energy molecule. That it can also reduce reactive oxygen species. Reactive oxygen species can damage our mitochondria specifically. And then some stats here, because I know that's nice. So they say 38% rested look in 7 days. So you look much younger and much more rested within a week of using it. And even up to 72% less skin fatigue in 30 minutes. So they measured this by looking at skin sagging and eye bags. Skin improvement or elasticity improvement in skin of up to 48% within 30 minutes, 36% better skin texture within 28 days, and 59% skin gloss within 30 minutes. So some nice results there. The last one is the micrococcus lysate, and this tackles emotional stress. Emotional stress can lead to the release of cortisol or substance P, and both of these contribute to cellular inflammation. So this ingredient, micrococcus lysate, is actually one of my favorite because of the interesting story behind it. So they isolated this little microorganism from a sea breeze near the island of Fiji. This thing actually lives in the sea breeze and in the clouds. I don't know if it's just marketing, but it's such a nice story. And they identified substances within the cell that downregulates cortisol and the expression of substance P, which then again in turn leads to lowering of inflammation within the skin cells. So what they saw here is an increase in hydration, increase in skin elasticity, and increase in skin firmness. The last ingredient I just want to highlight here, we'll talk about it a little bit later as well, is Zinnia oil. So Zinnia oil is oil that is derived from a plant that grows in Zimbabwe. And it's one of the most interesting oils I've ever encountered. It is the closest to a silicone-feeling substance that I found from nature. And this is because the oil has a very unique 40-carbon structure. So above 22 carbon structures, we talk about very long-chain fatty acids, and they are very rare in nature. So even more so, a 40-carbon amino acid. And the benefit of such an amino acid is it really effectively reduces transepidermal water loss because it forms this impenetrable layer on the skin. It's also been shown to improve blood circulation, so it will help with dark circles under the eye. Okay, next up, and in some of the information we've sent through, we've shared the before and after photos of the marula and baobab lush African oils. So this serum can also be used anytime, day or night, and you can use it as is. If there's a specific skin concern or irritation, you can use it throughout the day. You can apply as needed. And in the documents we've shared with you guys, there were before and after photos of a lady afflicted with shingles on this nerve on the forehead, which led to bad scaling. The skin was completely, it was one big wound. The skin was completely scabbing there. She had been struggling with that shingles breakout for 36 to 38 months. And by chance found this oil, applied it, and within 4 weeks she was completely healed and returned to normal, so much so that the doctor treating her with the shingles is also now stocking this product to give to their clients. That being said, when I formulated this, it was not specifically formulated to treat shingles. That was a happy byproduct of the incredible oils in this formulation. So looking at it, all the oils used in this product are known as non-timber forest products, meaning that the products are made from parts of the trees, like the fruits that would normally have gone to waste, and it enables rural communities, especially women, to earn a living. One of the suppliers of our oils is a Zimbabwean lady, and she tells us the story of traveling through Zimbabwe to collect the fruits to in turn make the oil. And it's really the most lovely stories to hear, women being able to pay their school fees because they delivered a crate full of marula fruits or Zimbabwean fruits for the production. So that is a nice background story of these oils. So first up is baobab seed oil. It's baobab is the largest succulent in the world, and it's rich in a compound called beta-cytosterol, which is an antioxidant able to reduce DNA damage. It's also suspected that it can increase the level of antioxidant enzymes that our cells produce. This is still under research, but it's proposed. It's also known as the dry skin oil because it's very nice for dry skins. It's non-irritating and non-sensitizing. It's deeply penetrating. As you'll find with all natural oils, we are used to mineral oils staying on the skin. You know, if you put your Nivea on and you get in the shower tonight and you wash, you still feel that slip, and that's because the mineral oils remain on the skin. But you'll see with African oil or with natural oils in general, consumers will often say, but I feel dry. It's just because the oil penetrates much quicker and it doesn't leave that petroleum product-like feeling on top of the skin, but it's sitting there in the top, in the stratum corneum, in order to reduce transepidermal water loss. Okay, back to baobab oil. It includes vitamins A, D, E, and F, and it's got superior antioxidant and anti-aging effects. It's ideal to treat dry and damaged skin because of its soothing properties, and is helpful for eczema and psoriasis treatment. It's also it's a natural source of vitamins, and they say it alleviates the pain from burns and regenerates epithelial tissue in a short time. And I think all of these oils contribute to the results we saw on that shingles patient. Okay, next up is marula seed oil, known to improve skin hydration and smoothness, as well as reduce skin redness. It contains oleic acid, which is also a long-chain fatty acid with good antioxidant activity, and it also contains a high level of oleic acid. Oleic acid is good for dry skin types. Linoleic acid is good for oilier skin types, two different fatty acids. Then the rosehip oil we use, it's organic Lesotho rosehip oil. and it's rich in vitamins and antioxidants, as you can see from the color. If you see rosehip oil in its natural form, it's this rich, deep orange color, and that is because of its high content of beta-carotene or carotenoids, which are the precursors of vitamin A. And what's nice about using it in this form, it doesn't cause the same sensitivity as vitamin A. It can penetrate the skin, and there it can upregulate the expression of genes to create vitamin A, or it can be, sorry, I don't know where I got to genes, but it can be transferred to vitamin A. Rosehip oil has been shown to significantly reduce UVA and UVC damage because of its antioxidant properties, and improves wound healing and scar formation due to the rejuvenation properties, but this is obvious side effect of the carotenoid content of the oil. Also effective in treating eczema, and demonstrates anti-cancer effects. This is also still being researched. Then Zaminia oil, we've spoken, sorry? Curtis, did you want to say something?
No, sorry, I actually accidentally switched my mic off.
Okay, Zaminia oil we spoke about, so I won't go too much detail there. And then the last is the Acmella flower extract. And this is a most interesting ingredient. It reinforces the architecture of the dermis. So all those structural fibers we saw, it helps it arrange and structure correctly, because if improperly structured, we get scarring or we get sagging. So you really want structure to be in the prescribed format. It also stimulates the biomechanical functions of the fibroblasts. So the fibroblasts we touched on quickly in that skin physiology slide. And what the fibroblast does is it creates collagen, it creates elastin, and it creates hyaluronic acid. So the Acmella extract enforces that, and that's why we see a strong anti-aging effect. It reduces the appearance of wrinkles on the face and neck, and they say it has a topical Botox-like effect. So you see quick effects in 1 hour when used topically, comparable to Botox. Makes the skin firmer, more toned, and it can smooth the décolleté area as well. Okay, and then this is an exciting one, because you are the first group in South Africa to hear about the new product we are launching. So I thought I will include it in the training so that you guys are aware of everything that's going on. So you are the first to know. You also are the first group to see the new packaging. So we're changing the Earth Range packaging slightly to bring in the color so that the serums are more easily differentiated. And we just cleaned up the front a little bit. And the new product is a bioretinol cell renewal serum. Bioretinol, also known as bakuchiol, is a massively trendy ingredient for the past 2-3 years. What's nice about bakuchiol or bioretinol is they've shown through many studies where they compare to retinol, it having the exact same effects as retinol. So what retinol does is it binds to receptors on the cell. That in turn leads to certain genes being expressed that leads to cell renewal. When you increase cellular turnover, you see that disquamation with retinol. You initially see where you've got skin flaking, but what also happens is your skin increases in thickness because your cellular turnover is increased, and then you reduce pigmentation and you reduce the depth of wrinkles. The only downside about retinol is it's photo unstable and it can cause reaction, especially in sensitive users. So the bakuchiol is devoid of the side effects of retinol. It doesn't have the same photostability issues, meaning it doesn't break down on your skin when in contact with the sun, which leads to further irritancy. It's also much more stable because working with vitamin A or retinol in a product is a nightmare. You can really only get proper stability up to about 6 months. Brands claim otherwise, but it's really difficult to stabilize vitamin A. So we get all the benefits without the safety issues. So important benefits from the ingredient is it boosts collagen 1, 3, and 4. So there are various types of collagen. It boosts 3 of the types by stimulating genes that express these fibers in the dermal layer. So they call infant type collagens type 1 and 4. So that's what you'll find in younger skin. And then mature collagen is collagen type 3. So it expresses all 3 types of collagen, so that you return your collagen content more towards what you'll find in younger, more youthful skin. It also has a broad antioxidant activity, sorry about that, because it's such a strong free radical scavenger, which means it reduces inflammation, reduces pigmentation. It can also protect the mitochondrial genome, and this is a very interesting idea because the mitochondria, which is an organelle within our cells, carries its own genetic information, and the same with your genes in your nucleus. If that gets damaged, you lose mitochondrial vitality. So it can actually help promote the stability of the mitochondrial genome, which in turn slows down cellular energetic aging. And it's also a modulator of the dermo-epidermal junction gene, so that adhesion between your epidermis and your dermis is improved with vitamin A, or rather with bioretinol. It's also very effective against acne. 4 factors contribute to acne, the first one being sebum production and its integrity, the second being overpopulation of pathogenic bacteria, thirdly, inflammation, and fourth, hyperkeratinization. So really, inflammation is behind all the factors driving acne, and then it just turns into an inflammatory loop and then is exacerbated by the other factors. So sebum production, what's important there is that the lipids don't degrade or don't oxidize, become rancid, because that leads to infection and bacteria actually fermenting and basically using your sebum as a food source. Pathogenic bacteria, so bioretinol has a broad antibacterial and antifungal property. So you'll see P. acnes being higher in sufferers of acne, as well as candida infections are prone, because acne leads to a degradation of skin barrier function. The moment you start getting your different bacterial colonies under control, you can also suppress the acne formation. What's important to remember is these bacteria also secrete pro-inflammatory factors, which in turn brings us back to inflammation. So they worsen that inflammation cascade. So it's one big dark circle of acne. And then lastly, you get hyperkeratinization, especially in the hair follicle and the sebum duct. You see more skin cells being produced than are shed. Once again, the bacteria has a function here. They secrete factors that actually stick these skin cells that are supposed to be discolmated and shed from your skin. They actually produce a substance that binds them, further worsening the condition. So this bioretinol, it can address all 4 steps in the acne cascade, which is why retinol has been used for ages in acne, in treating sufferers of acne. Of course, it will also be effective against hormonal acne, one of the key concerns that rose after COVID because of its anti-inflammatory action and because it will boost skin renewal. So you'll see the cells shed quicker. Then we spoke about all the African oils, so I won't go through all of them again. The last ingredient I want to talk about is the olive callus culture lysate. And this is also a phenomenal ingredient. And the longer it's been on the market, the more research the supplier is generating around this ingredient. So cell membranes are made up of lipids in the middle, and they actually manage to extract the lipids from inside of olive stem cells. So they call it the first cellular oil. And because these are membrane lipids that can effectively penetrate our cell membranes, where other substances may have issues, but because they mimic what our cell membranes look like, they can effectively penetrate. And in doing so, they found that they can also penetrate the membrane of the mitochondria, in turn recharging the mitochondria and improving the barrier function. And like we said, the mitochondria's membrane is responsible for generating the energy within the cell. So the moment you strengthen and revitalize the mitochondrial membrane, you'll see a boost of energy there. Like I said, research around this ingredient keeps growing. They've shown it reducing hormonal aging, which is the worst type of aging, because hormones leads to inflammation in our skin. Inflammation, I'm sounding like a broken record, but inflammation equals skin aging. Further, this ingredient also stimulates what they call mitochondrial synapses and communication between your different mitochondria. So you've got more than one per cell, you've got many. Younger cells have more mitochondria, older cells have much fewer. So in improving the communication between all your mitochondria within a cell, you improve the overall energy delivery within the cell. Okay, that is the new bioretinol serum. And then just a quick summary of all 6 products and the main skin concerns they address, so that you know if anyone asks you. The cleanser and the moisturizer is an everyday, everybody product. They use it morning and night, and it will address dark spots, blackheads, oily skin, dry skin. The moisturizer specifically rough texture and inflammaging. If you find that the moisturizer is not moisturizing enough, you add the African oil serum. You can just add a few drops to the moisturizer day and night to create a more oily or richer product. The vitamin B3 and C serum. This is really for consumers who struggle with skin texture, hormonal acne, or skin pigmentation issues. The African oil, like I said, targeted at consumers who either have severe skin damage, like the lady we saw with the shingles, or someone with a sensitive or dry skin type. The bioretinol. What's nice about bioretinol is it's sensitive skin friendly, so consumers who traditionally can't use retinol can use the bioretinol. Very effective in addressing all types of acne, but especially the hormonal acne, which is renowned to be difficult to treat. Under eye and forehead wrinkles, large pore skin texture. And then lastly, the detox serum. But as you saw, it's really a serum that holistically targets the different stresses in the skin that leads to aging. So the detox serum is really the one that everyone can use. So if consumers are unsure, they start with these 2, and then they can add the detox serum. And depending on specific skin concerns, they can add the other ones. Okay, that is my story. And then just to summarize in the Earth Skincare's mantra, they say take care of your 3 homes: body, mind, and planet. Thank you. That was my story.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. I've realized I've got a lot to learn. I'm sure the others do